What's up, everybody? Things were getting interesting for Monet Tejada at the end of season 2 of Ghost. She caught 2 bodies with the quickness. First, it was Carrie Milgram when Zeke found out that Monet was actually his mama and not his auntie. Monet showed up at Carrie's place and let her know, as long as Zeke has you to turn to, he will never come back to me. And then she canceled Carrie's Christmas party for her. After that, she shot down Mecca, the global goat of snitching, and her baby daddy of Zeke. Just within a few days, she killed both Zeke's lover and father. Speaking of Zeke, he decided to take his dad up on the offer to get out of the country and go live in paradise. But as he was boarding the plane, he was then gunned down by Monet's husband Lorenzo by mistake, thinking he was gunning down Mecca. However, before this happened, Zeke turned Detective Whitman's attention over to Monet as the primary suspect in the death of Carrie Milgram, which they had previously deemed a suicide. Whitman now has Monet on a traffic cam just a block away from Carrie's apartment. On top of that, Zeke had also made a statement asking Whitman if they still thought Carrie's death was a suicide. And we know what type of cop Whitman is. He is relentless and not going to back down. Even when he was wrong about Zeke, he kept pursuing him and kept him as a suspect a lot longer than he needed to. Since Whitman was one of the many men Carrie had been with, he is going to have an extra level of energy in pursuing Monet about this. Right now, the evidence he has on Monet is Zeke's statement, Monet at the traffic light, and a possible motive that Carrie, who was a professor at Stansfield, was in a known relationship with her son Zeke, a popular basketball player and a student at Stansfield. I'm not sure if this is enough to make a formal arrest, but if it's not, it would at least be enough to bring Monet in for questioning. And also to go back to Carrie's to sample her place to see if Monet's fingerprints or DNA or anything else was left behind at the crime scene. We have to also remember that it was Detective Whitman who made the call to the Tejada residence to let Monet know about Zeke. It is possible that Whitman might think that Monet or someone who was close to her is responsible for Zeke, maybe thinking it was something regarding Carrie's death and him talking to the cops. We also don't know if Zeke may have went back to the police station before showing up at Mecca's to get on the plane. Because when he was leaving the police station in the fancy car after Whitman had just shown him Monet at the traffic light, Zeke was weeping in the car because he knew his mom killed his lover and his dad knew about it and lied to his face. Now you mean to tell me just 2 hours later, Zeke is now cool and just shows up to go out of the country to paradise with these same 2 people? I don't think so. Remember, also Zeke is extremely immature and emotional with no one to turn to. He's not on the Stansfield basketball team anymore. He doesn't have anyone in his family he trusts. Plus, even if they did, they were all busy at that time anyway, and his lover is dead, and he's not even a student at Stansfield at this point. So it's a real possibility that Zeke turned to Whitman for comfort and told him everything that he knows. This is probably another reason why Monet has always wanted to keep Zeke away from the family business, because she knew he would fold under pressure for sure. but I do expect Whitman to let them attend Zeke's funeral and take care of all that before he starts to make his pursuit of Monet. So we may not get into this storyline until around episode 2 or 3, even though we may begin to see Whitman making his investigation. As far as Monet going down for Mecca, I think that Tariq will be the initial suspect from Blanca Rodriguez, but the evidence will show that he wasn't the shooter some type of way, which could then also turn the investigation over to Monet. Once they begin to check out what Mecca has been doing recently and who he had been associated with, the two main people who are going to pop up will be Monet and her son Kane Tejada, who is actually still serving as Mecca's number 2 at the time of his death. It's at this point where she could begin to be a suspect in Mecca's death also. Not to mention, she killed a contractor on accident because she thought he had stolen her money out the safe, when it was actually Diana who stole the money to pay for Davis McLean to get her father out of prison. To make matters worse, her favorite child is dead and her husband is the one who did it. So if Monet ever figured this out, we could definitely be canceling Christmas for Lorenzo, because honestly I don't think she even likes Lorenzo in the first place, especially how he came home and took over everything, tried putting her out of the game and forced her to live off him, and he was even smoking cigars in the house that she didn't like, not really caring about anything that Monet had to say, and sure enough not giving her respect as the one who held it down all that time he was in prison. So with all that being said, do you think Monet will go down for any of these charges in Ghost Season 3? I think it is a good possibility that we see Monet going down and being off the show for a while. Honestly, it all depends if Mary J wants to keep doing the show or maybe take a break. That's why I think Monet may go to prison. That way, if she is trying to take a break, they could always bring her back at any time, in comparison to killing her off the show where they can't bring her back. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts in the comments.